Ever since a baby, I've been trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blind little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the vibes, and I'm copping the pain. We off to the stars of a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know it's a bros, I got Richard and Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the ran do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, that's Maddie, and we are less than 48 hours from the first draft pick being announced.
Yeah, we are less than 48 hours from Cam Ward being announced as the new quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. I think is the one surefire pick that we can put down that is definitely going to happen in the NFL. And Jay, it's happening in Green Bay. How is the build-up going over there? Is Green Bay as excited as the rest of the world is for the draft right now?
Actually, locals are very irritated right now, but that will get over with as soon as the draft starts. So as for the last 2.5 weeks, they've been shutting down roads and building stages, making life very difficult to travel in some areas. Mm-hmm. And as of today, you can no longer take a right turn from my street down Lombardi Avenue. So it's very strange. You really have to plan out where you're going, and a lot of locals are pissy. But I feel that will all change once the festivities kick off. With the Green Bay kicks off tomorrow with their festivities, and the NFL kicks off Thursday.
Yeah, and I think with being a city that's hosting things like Super Bowls, or being a city that's hosting things like World Cups and those kind of things. Oh, me and my dad confirmed the other day that we'll be coming over to the US if Wales qualify for the Football World Cup. We'll be there. So hopefully see you there. It's obviously a big if Wales qualify.
If Wales makes it, I hope they get put in the round or in the group that plays in Chicago, because you will be very close to where I am, and I will take my ass to Chicago and see you.
I'm kind of bagging for the training ground being in Lambeau Field. That would be perfect if Wales were based in Lambeau Field for the training ground. That would be great.
So you know that place, Titletown, where you see the videos of me? That hotel right there is where whichever football soccer teams are here will be staying in that hotel called the Kohler.
Yeah, Green Bay's got a lot going on in the next couple of years. So you guys are all going to have to get used to it. Hey, it might lead to more walkable cities, like in Green Bay, a more walkable area. Who knows? But Jay, today we are reacting to the top stories ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft. We're having a look at some of the top stories that I've been looking at online today. And story number one, Jay, that we've been looking at is the biggest sleepers of the biggest quarterback sleepers in the 2025 draft. So we've all heard about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. We've spoken about if Shedeur Sanders will fall or whether he'll be taken in the top 4 or the top 5 for loads here. But Jay, this quarterback class is actually quite a lot deeper than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And Chris Sims on his podcast yesterday was talking about how a lot of NFL teams have a similar grade between Shedeur Sanders and people like Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, and Will Howard as well, saying they all have a very similar grade. So a lot of teams may skip on Shedeur Sanders to take one of those guys later in the draft. First of all, what do you make of Chris Sims' comments there?
I believe he's heard it, and I believe those people are ass fuck retarded. That's what I think. But I think Shedeur Sanders, I don't think that anybody even has to question if he's going to be a solid pro. Now, what level after that, I don't know. I mean, but again, he's a kid who gets beat up because he does everything good but nothing great. I don't understand the argument in that, but um, I think he's hands down the number 2 quarterback in the draft. Where I start to disagree with people is where it comes down to the 3rd quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, and I think with this quarterback class as well, I think I could see like a couple of these guys who are going to be taken probably at the top of the 2nd, maybe at the end of the 1st, but definitely the guys who are like going to be taken at the end of the 2nd and the 3rd, the 4th round. It's like, do you know what? Like these guys could start in the NFL.
So, a wild stat, but it was in like I think it was the last 20 years. Only 6 quarterbacks have been taken in the 2nd round, but like a ton of them in the 3rd. Because if you're good enough to be in the 2nd round, they overdraft you in the 1st.
Yeah, they jump up to the 1st to get the 5th-year option as well. Like they'll jump up in and take that 5th-year option. But Jay, I thought we could start with the guy who maybe your 3rd quarterback of choice, but Jackson Dart, Jay. Jackson Dart has been raising up in a lot of draft boards throughout the process, and now is highly regarded as the 3rd quarterback in the draft. Jay, what do you think Jackson Dart's greatest strengths are, and where do you think he goes in this draft?
I like Jackson Dart. I don't think he's the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. I think his biggest strength is how much improvement we've seen from him over his career. We've watched so much. Hold on, my computer screen just went wild on me. Okay. We've seen so much improvement from Jackson Dart like over his NFL career that I think that's his biggest strength. Like we know he can get better. We know that that he's gonna like learn, keep building his base, that kind of shit. I have to ask you though, when it comes to Jackson Dart, does it not seem that the Giants are way too logical of a landing spot? Like all the connections there, the Dayball with the OC and Eli with old Miss and fucking, you know what I mean? There's so many connections with Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart's high school coach is some fucking scout in like New York or for the Giants now. It's like this whole thing isn't it almost like Jackson Dart makes way too much sense?
Yeah, and it's actually a really great spot for him to land as well. So with Russell Wilson now being a New York Giant, that gives him the ability to sit for a year, like if they want to do that as well. The Giants, a lot of people say that they'll be taking Jackson Dart at the top of the 2nd round. Personally, if I'm going to sit him for a year as well, I'm going to be calling the Eagles and the Chiefs to find out if I can jump up into the 1st to get that 5th round option on him.
I'm
as
sure
well.
Minnesota's open for a trade.
Yeah, definitely as well. And the one team, and we'll talk about them later due to the story that links them to this, but the one team that could take Jackson Dart out from them is the Pittsburgh Steelers, sat there in the middle of the 1st round, overdrafting a quarterback like they did with Kenny Pickett as well. That would be the one team I'd be worried about if I was the New York Giants. But I think he is a shoo-in to be picked by the New York Giants, and the New York Giants could come away with either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter in the 1st round. They then get their quarterback of the future in the 2nd, and then there's those great running backs that'll be there in the 3rd, at the top of the 3rd as well, where a lot of people have that running back run. So they could finish with a defensive line of Sexy Dexy, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns, which is a crazy defensive line to assemble. And then they have a running back and a QB for their round 3 picks.
I just threw that Giants out there as it makes sense. I don't think it happened because I think Jackson Dart goes before Shedeur Sanders at 9 to the Saints.
Oh,
and
right.
I think they're crazy. I think they're crazy, but I think that's what's going to happen. And did you hear the wild shit that the Patriots made it known that if Carter falls to them, they're not picking him?
No, is it because they're going to be taking a no tackle?
No, they like
by
that
any
other
chance?
fucking. They like the other defensive end better. I forget his name off the top of my head. I got the top 100 thing up here. I can pull it up, but um, but with Jackson Dart though, I think I've heard so much that he's so loved in D tackle Mason Graham. That's who it was that they were
Oh,
saying they would
right.
take.
Okay.
I had
D
the story
tackle.
pulled up
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
knew I was going to bring it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said they wouldn't take Carter if he was there. I think they'd take Hunter if he was there. But
Yeah.
all the stuff I keep hearing is that they just are reading and they love him in New Orleans. Like he is their type of guy, Jackson Dart. I think that where is it? Okay. I think Jackson Dart's the fourth best quarterback in this draft, though. I think Kyler McCord is better than Jackson Dart.
I've seen Cal McCord from Syracuse making a lot of noise and like kind of like a late draft rise. My other problem with Jackson Dart is like his arm talent
I
is
think
kind of
he
like
sneaks into the end of the first round.
Kyle McCord from Syracuse. That's it's pretty crazy. With my reservations about Jackson Dart are his like he's got B-level arm talent, which is pretty good. He's got good deep throw accuracy, but it's in the Ole Miss offense. And Ole Miss, like, if you watch their tape, if you watch Jackson Dart's tape, and if you look at Ole Miss, they just has this crazy offense that asks no one to think. Like, you don't have to think and do anything. It is first read, throw it out there, go crazy. That is Ole Miss's offense. And at the NFL level, that does not translate. So I think Jackson Dart definitely needs to sit a year if he's still available. And if you're the Saints and if you like Jackson Dart, then you have Derek Carr that you can sit behind for a year. So that's not a terrible spot for him either. But if you're the New York Giants, then you have Russell Wilson who you can sit behind for a year as well. So I think Jackson Dart will be going to one of those two teams. I agree with you.
Well, the thing is I don't know if you can sit him behind Derek Carr, though. Now it's all coming out that Derek Carr needs surgery and is going to miss the season, which makes me feel like they have to draft Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
And I think Shador's going to slip, and I think they're going to pass Shador over for Jackson Dart is what I think is going to happen. What I think should happen if that happens, which will never happen, I think at 12, the Cowboys should pull the trigger on Shador and get ready to move on from Dak. I do, but it won't happen.
Yeah, I'm much more of a fan of the Cowboys kind of taking someone a bit later, and they've just got Joe Milton as well. So I feel like Joe Milton is their like rookie QB guy. That
I think you could, but I think if you got Shador, you play Dak for one more year, you trade him. Everybody loves Milton, so you turn around and you get something for him too. And now then boom, I got a bunch of draft picks because Jerry doesn't do free agents. He does what Rick Spielman did. He drafted and then overpays his draft picks, so you end up with a fucked up cap. Well, that's what happened to the Vikings. They did the same thing.
Right.
Draft, develop, overpay your guys, and then end up with a fucked up cap because everybody's in their 30s making way too much money.
Yeah, so I don't see Shador Sanders making it past the Raiders. Like if he makes it to 6, he's getting picked by the Raiders.
I think they want Genty so bad.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy of a value as well. Jay, let's talk Kyle McCord. I have him down as kind of like the best value pick at QB because all the value that I've seen him connected to is kind of like 3rd round, 4th round draft value. And then you watch his tape, you listen to any analyst talking about him, and they're like, this guy's got it. Like whatever it is, Kyle McCord has got it. And all of a sudden, it seems like now we're talking end of the 1st round, beginning of the 2nd. Does he still remain a good value QB if you have to take him by day 2?
I mean, if he pans out, he's great fucking value, right? Like that's the thing,
obviously.
right? Right. And this is the crazy thing about this draft, though. no matter who you pick, you're going to get beat up because there is no clear cut besides fuck. You got Carter,
Cam, yeah.
Hunter, Genty, and 2 fucking tight ends. Those are your blue chip players, right? And we're talking first round, like, and 2 tight ends. We're literally talking about being the top of this. So you hear them all the time going, fuck, 6 through 25 is the same, and 25 through 50 is pretty much the same grade, right? You're hearing this from all of them. So I think no matter who you pick, you're going to get beat up. And I'm always a firm believer, if you as an organization believe that's your guy, especially at quarterback, but no matter who he is, don't play fucking games. Just go get him.
Yeah, and yeah, with Kyle McCord, I really do think I really do think he pans out as a Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins player in terms of being drafted in those like round 3, round 4. I'm very happy with him if I'm picking him up there. To me, he screams like watching him. I'm like, is that Baker Mayfield? But also, is that Gardner Minshew? That's like where I am with him.
When I watch him, I'm like, he kind of reminds me of Joe Burrow.
It really, yeah. I can kind of see Burrow. I can kind of see Burrow's the very top end, but I'm talking that gunslinger with a questionable arm talent. So whatever that means, whatever arm talent means, I'm seeing like gunslinger mentality with an arm talent that we're not sure how good that is rep to rep. And at the NFL level, that could be really dangerous, or that could be amazing.
And
That's where I am with Kyle McCord.
He's a guy that needs the right coach, because what I've noticed, and this all comes from Kevin O'Connell being my head coach of my team, because I watch a lot of interviews. So I hear what he says and then I start watching, right? And he always talks about, you got to marry your feet with the throw. And when you watch Kyle throw, his great throws, his feet are married to the rest of his body. His bad throws, they're not. He just needs a coach to get it all to line up mechanically. And I think you're like, I really like the kid more the more and more I watched him, I liked him. But I'm a guy that, if you want to talk about a guy in later rounds that I think you can develop into somebody really good, Quentin Ewers. I don't know why people like, the kid played fucking hurt. Like, go back and look at the year before. He can play football. He played hurt, and then he had to worry about playing hurt with Arch Manning breathing over his fucking shoulder while he's trying to finish out hurt, right? Like, so I don't know. I just think you got to go back a year and watch Quentin Ewers, and you'll be like, this kid can play.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys where, like, so Kyle McCord, for example, I think the Rams like scream out to me. I'm like, the Rams is a backup for Matthew Stafford, contingency plan for Matthew Stafford to eventually leave. I'm like, yeah, the Rams in
even if it's 2 years, right? Like,
yeah. When the Rams have like a weird pick schedule, I think as well. So give me a second. But yeah, the Rams get into a bit of trouble.
I could see him sneak into this first round. I could also see him being drafted in the third.
Yeah, I like 90th overall to the Rams. If you get Kyle McCord 90th overall, that's great value. I think that's a great value pick. And I think you can get that depending on how everybody else is evaluating him, right? So ESPN's QB rankings have him as the 5th best quarterback in the draft, right? Behind Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, and Shedeur Sanders. PFF have him ranked as 10th behind Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Sau, Jackson Dart, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, like Jalen Milroe, like PFF have him drafted as 10th. So where have you got him on your board? Kyle McCord could be the best value QB in this draft.
Yeah, and so I wanted to look this up. So I just looked this up while you were doing that. Daniel Jeremiah has him 4th. He has it Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Kyle McCord, Jackson Dart, Quentin Ewers.
Yeah, I just think he's. Yeah,
But
he
it just
seems to
goes to
split
show, like,
opinion.
yeah, where is he on people's board?
Yeah.
And I was just reading articles that were saying like teams are like really like him and they're being very silent on him, which makes me feel the less you're talking about something, the more it's like, oh,
Mm.
somebody's plotting and they don't remember. We didn't hear shit about Patrick Mahomes. Like, bro, nobody even thought of Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. Not a single fucking person. And then Andy Reid jumps up and takes him. And then everybody's like, they're so stupid for moving up to 10 to take Patrick Mahomes. And then you come to find out Sean Payton says we were taking him a pick later.
Yeah, or it's something that like Shador that could happen to Shador, right? Like the Pittsburgh Steelers are leaking everything about Shador Sanders being terrible to try and get him to fall so that then they can jump up. Like the jump up for the Steelers becomes easier if they're trading with the Bears, for example, at 10, than it does if they're having to trade
And
with the
this
Jags at
year,
5.
will a team take less this year to move back?
Yeah.
Because they're like, I got 10 players that I grade out pretty much the same. And if I fall back, I'll take a 4th round pick to fall back 8 spots.
Yeah, definitely. So it's maybe Cal McCord could definitely be one of those guys. Another one of these guys is Jalen Milroe. So Jalen Milroe at the start of this
I have
process
mixed emotions on him.
He's at the start of this process, he is the nailed on number 3 quarterback in this draft, right? At the beginning of the draft process, everyone's like Jalen Milroe, number 3 overall, in terms of quarterbacks, right?
Right.
And now it's again a mixed bag. It's some people have him at 3, like PFF. Some people have him at 4, like ESPN. I saw Chris Sims. I don't think actually had him in his top 5. Like, where does Jalen Milroe go for you? Is he one of those classic highest upside QBs in the draft?
In my ratings, it's weird. So if I had to rank him, he would be 6th. But he is the guy that it's like, depending where you're drafting, let's say this is the 3rd round, right? And let's say for some odd reason that there's only the top Jackson Dart, Shador, and Cam Ward go. And you're sitting there going, should we just take a fucking chance on his athletic ability? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I could see him going there. I got him 6, but I could see him, a team like just being like, this kid's athletic ability is too much to pass on. And then you just have to draft him because he's probably the best athlete in the draft. And like, I am dead serious when Bill O'Brien said this, and I'm like, he's not lying. When he was like, if he was a running back, he would be the best running back in the country. Like, seriously.
Yeah. And with so Jalen Milroe would be the quarterback I would want the Cowboys to take if we were taking our quarterback in the 2nd round.
Are you afraid that he can't throw? Does that scare you? Because that kind of scares me a little.
I'm afraid when quarterbacks come out of Alabama as well, in terms of their throwing ability. So an athletic quarterback coming out of Alabama, the accuracy does worry me there because in Alabama, you're just throwing to open receivers the entire time. Like we saw.
Or you just go and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Or you just go and win the Super Bowl. But I mean, Jalen Hurts was an Oklahoma Sooner, really.
Well, he played 1 year there. I mean, you can't come on. He's both. Let's give him both. But
he's both.
But I get what you're saying. Until Tua and Jalen, I didn't trust Alabama quarterbacks at all.
Yeah, right. But when you bring out Jalen, for example, the Cowboys currently play in a division with Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, right? And we currently have Dak Prescott at quarterback, which is like, okay, like Dak Prescott is a great quarterback, still for me, top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
When he's healthy, absolutely.
When he's healthy, but he now definitely has an injury bug and he's lost the mobility. Like one of the big things about Dak Prescott when he was first in the game in 2016 was he actually did have sneaky mobility, as well as a sneaky good runner.
Well,
and we're
he
kind
got
of
his
missing
ankle
that.
pulled off.
Exactly. That's going to affect your ability to run. Yeah.
I mean, he literally
So,
got his ankle pulled off. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And so for me, I feel like when you're in the Dallas Cowboys position, where you've actually got Joe Milton is going to be an excellent from the pocket thrower, and he's actually an incredible athlete as well.
there might be something
So,
there.
so I think if you bring in a Jalen Milroe with your second round pick, I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't. It's not a position of need for the Cowboys, so I wouldn't necessarily do it. But Jalen Milroe would be the quarterback I'd want from this class in Dallas.
If that trend with not taking quarterbacks in the second round holds up, and you can get them in the third, it's an even better value.
Yeah, that's great value.
Also, and this isn't a shot at Dak, but we're at this point in Dak's career where he's here.
Mhm.
These young quarterbacks are here, but it's going like this. And I'm not saying Dak's dropping fast, but these guys are moving up quick, and Dak's not, and that happens with every quarterback, at some point. We're watching it with Stafford, too. They're catching up. Stafford's still great, but the gap's getting close enough now where you see the Rams going, should we trade him? Should we extend him? Like, they're in a weird spot. So, and a lot of good young quarterbacks came out last year, so it makes the league it makes it harder on the league because they're like, we got to find a quarterback now, but you don't have a draft like that every year.
Yeah, and the problem with that is it's happening in his division. Like, we
Right.
may have just had the best rookie quarterback season of all time in his division. Not to mention,
can we finally say I was right and he's the best quarterback in that draft, or do we still have to wait?
No. You were right. You were right.
Okay.
And then, and then the other best rookie quarterback season of all time happened in his state. Also important to mention for Dak as well. So the next city over. So you have that in the division, and then the Super Bowl champions are in his division as well, with a slightly more mobile version of the way that Dak played before he got injured. Like, that is the way, like, Jalen Hurts and Dak are pretty comparable if you take Dak before he got injured. So that is unfortunate. And when you're playing in that division, rookie quarterback with athletic talents does become pretty enticing. Where I think Jalen Milroe goes, I think he makes a lot of sense in Cleveland. I think Cleveland are going to take Abdul Carter at second overall. I think he makes a lot of sense in Cleveland with those.
They said today we're willing to move if somebody wants to trade.
I think everyone's willing to move, aren't they? Which we'll talk
about.
Everyone
but Tennessee, I guess, told motherfuckers.
They love Cam Ward. Do you know what? Cam Ward is the quarterback that I've watched the least of. I've realized, because I've just realized, like, there's no point. We'll have to, like, obviously when we're doing reactions and preparing for the season, we'll watch a lot more Cam Ward. But yeah, it's interesting.
I did watch some to see if like how does he play, that kind of stuff. But I knew he was going one overall. And then what I like to do is just start looking at Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Mm-hmm. Where do they have everybody ranked? And so it gives me, these are the cluster of guys I'm going to look at, because I don't watch college football as heavily as they do. So I start like watching all off of their lists, but I try to like make my own determination. Like I like to play scout, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. I think
that's my cosplay. I'll go put on a Vikings hoodie and a hat and clipboard and watch it. Okay.
I think with Jalen Milroe, I think a very interesting landing spot for him would be Indy as well. So you have Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, and Jalen Milroe all in the same QB room, and you just tell them to fight it out. Best athletic quarterback wins, and you do that because they kind of
interview. The interview with he was a Badger too. Their GM, Chris, whatever. Their GM was fucking on an interview. He didn't sound too confident about fucking Anthony Richardson winning that job.
Yeah.
He said the right things, but it's how he said those things that made me think they're kind of thinking Danny Dimes is going to win that fucking job.
Yeah, and I think India kind of pretty wedded to that athletic quarterback style now, aren't they? Like with the two quarterbacks that they've got. look, I quite like Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones has a place in the NFL. I don't think he has a place starting in the NFL. Like, so if you can get Jalen Milroe with a 3rd-round pick, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, if you get Jalen Milroe with a 3rd, maybe even a 2nd-round pick, that's interesting to you. That's
Well,
gotta
and then
interest you.
even if you take a McCord or a fucking Ewers or something to develop because you're not sure about it, what's going on. But as a
Yeah.
guy who is a Vikings fan, I am cheering for Daniel Jones to win that job. Give me the highest motherfucking compensatory pick. Like the Vikings got
Yeah.
the highest compensatory pick in the draft this year for Sam Darnold at 97.
Yeah.
Right? They're the
I'll
first
do it.
one. So let me get 97 and 98 next year because, and we might even have a 3rd one. So let me get 99. Quasey's playing
Yeah.
this compensatory game. Daniel Jones go win that job. Get me some good compensatory picks. But I feel bad for Anthony Richardson. But this is another thing. Like he'll, because of how high he was drafted and how athletic he is, he'll get another chance with another team. If he loses
definitely.
his job, he'll get another chance. So for him, maybe Steichen wasn't the fucking answer, right? Like maybe that just wasn't the guy for him. I don't know. There seems to be some weird things that because he played so little football, he really doesn't understand like what it's like to be a pro. He didn't even learn that in college because of the tapping out thing. But like there's other stories where he's a genuinely good person. Like you hear he helps the training staff without being asked and cleans up the field. And like, so I think there's room to grow there and that athleticism. And you see such flashes of like what he could be. And then you see a bunch of fucking shitty plays in a row. So I don't mind the idea of them picking up another quarterback to fill out that room because you got your vet with Daniel Jones. You got AR in there, you know, who you hope wins the job if you're the Colts. You bring in somebody else as a fucking backup plan. That's not a bad idea.
AR, I think, is in an interesting
If you
spot for whoever the odd man out is. Whoever the odd person out is in terms of, so the Steelers, for example, we're going to talk about the Steelers in a second in a bit more depth, but the Steelers could be the odd man out left without a quarterback here. And Anthony Richardson becomes really interesting to them. Like that becomes super interesting because if you can, one, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and Anthony Richardson is an exciting, like with Pat Frymouth as well, that's an exciting down the field group with good athleticism. So, but we'll talk more about the Steelers.
So if you draft Milroe, right, and you're the Colts, no matter who wins that starting job, because he's obviously going to be QB3, right? Because you're still going to try to develop Anthony Richardson, even if it's just for one more year before you move on. Do you put him in packages at different positions? Like, do you get his athleticism on the field and just get the ball in this fucking kid's hands, no matter how you do it? Do you run a wildcat package with him? Do you like line him up in the backfield or the slot? Or
to be honest, for me, he instantly becomes QB2. So whoever loses that job has lost has lost the job to someone who they have no business.
If Anthony Richardson loses a job, they wouldn't have Daniel Jones as number 2. I mean, they're paying $14 million.
Well, they'd have to have him as number 2, but I think if you're paying that much, I think that suggests that Anthony Richardson is going to lose the job, right?
I agree, but you're agreeing Anthony Richardson comes out there and just jumps in. You're like, okay.
I think my game is I try to trade whoever loses that job. I ring whoever's in a tricky quarterback situation. I'm on the phone immediately to whoever loses that job. If I've got Jalen Milroe, they probably won't take Jalen Milroe. I just think it's a really interesting place for Jalen Milroe to go. But yeah, I definitely, if I'm drafting Jalen Milroe, if the Cowboys drafted him, I'm putting Jalen Milroe in packages 100% just to get him on the field as well. Will Howard. Will Howard's kind of gone up and down for a lot of people. This is the thing with this quarterback group, right? It's like that top end talent of Cam Ward, and most people say Shedeur Sanders is the second guy as well. That top end talent is pretty secure, but everybody else is moving up and down. You can pick anyone. Jay, my problem with Will Howard, is he a project of a great college system, or is he a legit NFL QB? That's my thing with Will Howard.
I think he has a chance to be a legit NFL QB, but I also think he's a guy that would benefit for sitting behind a vet for a year, learning the NFL system, getting acclimated. But there's no arguing he played great in big time moments in big time football and college football. And no, I don't have him as like in my top 5. I don't think he's a first or second round pick, but I do think he's a guy you send a flyer on in the 3rd round and sit him behind somebody like another guy that, hey, Matt Stafford's getting old, get him in there. Or like they're going to overpay Brock Purdy before the season, but if you didn't, like get somebody in there, sit behind him for a year. You know what I mean? Kyle McCord or Will Howard. I like Will Howard. Like I think people like don't understand. Yes, he's accurate. He's athletic for his size, and people underestimate like the decision making and things he did in big moments in big games, like pressure situations. Like there's not a lot of college quarterbacks who come out who have felt that kind of pressure, right? Like, sure, maybe the Super Bowl is more pressure, but maybe it's not. Like I've never been in a college national championship. Like that's got to be huge pressure.
Yeah, well, especially if you're the quarterback of Ohio State, right?
Right.
Who
lost to Michigan.
Had his worst game of his career against Michigan as well. Like he didn't just lose to Michigan. His draft stock got tanked during that game against Michigan because that game against Michigan is the most watched game in college football, and he was dreadful. So his draft stock gets immediately tanked in that game. But then what do? He brushes himself off and plays excellent throughout the college playoffs, plays all of his best ball throughout the college playoffs. Who else played his best ball? For Ohio State in the college playoffs in the big moment, CJ Stroud. Does exactly the same thing where CJ Stroud, product of the Ohio State were the best college team in football by a long way this year. It was pretty obvious that they were going to win the national championship from the jump. So it's easy to say Will Howard just has to hit these guys. But actually, like his big decision making is a big plus. So I would take a flyer on him in the 3rd or 4th round as well. Especially if I was just about to say if I'm the Raiders, I'm probably gonna be taking a risk somewhere if I'm the Raiders as well. Like if you're the Raiders, who are you bringing in to play quarterback for you that year? Well, Will Howard also makes a great backup for whoever that guy is, right?
Well, they got Geno Smith now, so then you just send him behind Geno, and you take him, and because they're picking so high, you might be able to get him in the 4th round. Number 6 pick in the 4th round. I don't know if they have comp picks. They might have fucking comp picks too. You pick them with a 3rd round comp pick or something. But Chip Kelly was his offensive coordinator. You're sending him back to his offensive coordinator. So he gets to learn behind Geno, which we can say what we want. Geno has played great. Geno has played completely ass at times. But Geno is a pro's pro. He knows how to play, like be a pro in the NFL. He can sit and learn from watching Geno Smith, and he already knows the offense, which gives him to step up. I'm sure it will be ramped up to 10th degree for the NFL players because they can handle more than college teams can, because your team can only handle as much as your weakest player on your team. You know what I mean? So once you get the NFL, he can do things with that. But I think that's a perfect place for Will Howard to succeed. And Geno Smith his contract is pretty much a 1-year deal and then a 1-year deal. And then it's not really the whole even 3 years. It's pretty much 2 1-year deals.
Yeah. And it's pretty impressive how difficult the Raiders quarterbacks made it look last year when they had Brock Bowers in the team. like best friend to a quarterback is the tight end, and they have possibly the best tight end in the league now. Like obviously there's people like Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews as well.
Best young tight end in football. How about that?
Well, he's 1,000,000% the best young tight end, but he's already in the top 3, top 5 maybe of tight ends in the game.
If they take Aston Genty in the 1st round, take a receiver in the 2nd round, whoever in the third round and then take Will Howard in the fourth round. Is that not a win of a draft?
That's a pretty cooking draft, and actually, Will Howard's playstyle and Geno Smith's playstyle go quite well. I've just had a look at who Tankathon have got in their mock draft for the Raiders in the fourth round, and funnily enough, it's Will Howard at the 108th,
There you go.
The 108th pick in the draft. Which, to me, Will Howard, the 108th pick in the draft, that doesn't sound too bad to me.
I think there is a lot, and I've been saying this. I think there is a lot of talent in this draft. It just needs to be developed. And do they end up with the right teams to develop them?
Yeah, 100%. And Jay, the final quarterback that we'll talk about is Riley Leonard. The reason that I kind of want to talk about Riley Leonard here is he's hit a big rise really recently. Like, his rise has been over the last week in such a way that I haven't actually been able to watch much Riley Leonard. I've watched a bit before going on the show here. So I was just wondering if you can try and like explain where this has come from, why Riley Leonard has just kind of come out of nowhere.
No, I'm not going to lie to you. He's one for me that I was kind of shocked too, because I went and watched some, and yet Notre Dame played fucking great, and he looks all right. But I personally didn't look at him and go, "Fuck, that's an NFL quarterback." I didn't. They outspent everybody in the fucking portal and NIL, and they got a bunch of talent. They put it around a really good college football player. That, like, the fuck was his name? Shit, there was the kid who was drafted the year before Cam Newton in the second round by the Panthers. He was a Notre Dame quarterback, and he was great in college. I can't believe I can picture his face, blonde-haired kid, but whatever. I said the same thing with him. Is like, I see that they already hit their ceiling. I feel like they're great college quarterbacks, but I feel like they already hit their ceiling. And so I don't know. I don't see him as an NFL quarterback. So I think it caught me off guard when I started seeing people putting him in their mock drafts and in their 7-round drafts and shit.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting, like, dual threat guy from what I've seen. And obviously, if you're taking people from Notre Dame, you're getting a certain level of professionalism for the guy from Notre Dame.
Jimmy Clausen.
Okay, possibly.
Well, if you watch the Pro Bowl, he was the one throwing the passes to the receivers in their challenge. So
yeah, that makes sense. Possibly guys from Notre Dame are less of a risk to bring up to the NFL level. Like, I don't want the first thing that I say about a guy that I'm drafting to be like, oh, he's got good character, or he's a good guy. Like, he's a good guy, Like, that's not what I want to say the first time. But if we're on a par, if we're on a level, and I'm getting a guy from Notre Dame, I'm like, okay, like, you only go to Notre Dame if you also like want to live in that culture as well, with the academic side of football to go with it. And I think that's a great thing to have for an NFL guy. And he's got good dual threat. PFF have him ranked at 5th overall in their QB rankings. So yeah, they clearly see something. I don't. But Riley Leonard, like, backing up Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, I think would be an excellent fit for them.
I hope the kid succeeds. That's all I'll say. I hope all these
100%.
kids succeed. It's not going to happen, but I hope everybody who enters this draft makes their dreams come true. Because, like, I'm never cheering for the downfall of any of these guys. I'm just being honest. Like, when I watch him, I see a really great college quarterback. But that, I know a lot of people said it, but it's the same thing when I saw Tim Tebow. I saw a really great college quarterback. I did not see an NFL guy. Now, I'm not comparing this guy to Tebow, because Tebow, like, his accuracy was so bad. So don't think that I'm like saying Riley Leonard's accuracy is as bad as Tebow, because it's not.
Yeah, that's Quinn Ewers for me. When I see Quinn Ewers and I see great college quarterback, but a lot of people have him. Everybody tagged him, and now all of a sudden he's back on the rise again. He's 5th in Chris Sims's draft rankings as well.
Yeah, he's 5th in mine, and I see him as a guy that if he got developed behind somebody with the right guy. He's got the talent. Like if you go watch him play 2 years ago, the kid can fucking play. So if we're talking late round picks, these are the guys I was saying, like there's talent there that maybe like, with some, I don't want to use the word grooming because that comes off so fucking bad nowadays. But, getting with the right team and the right training that they can be a starting quarterback.
There are a couple of spots that are perfect for all of these guys, right? Every single one of these guys fits perfectly in a couple spots. The Rams is spot number one, where you're behind Stafford. There's a definite route to you playing in a couple of years. You have Sean McVay as your coach, and the Rams run their organization very well. There's the 49ers, where you may not have a path to play, but everybody who goes into a Kyle Shanahan system seems to get a second chance somewhere else. Eventually, if they perform well in that system, and look, they might come to pass with Brock Purdy, and then you might get a chance to play as well. One that's really interesting to me is the Vikings. So the Vikings, where you're sat with Kevin O'Connor, and then what if JJ McCarthy doesn't work out? What if he's an injury-prone quarterback because he's got this injury so early on? Like that, like there's a place there where I think, oh, that's interesting to me, the Vikings. So, and I think the Cowboys is a decent place to go as well. But what do you do with the Vikings and any of these quarterbacks?
Well, before that, one more place that people don't think about that I think people should put on the radar would be a good place for a young quarterback to learn. Green Bay. I'm not 100% sold on Jordan Love. I'm not saying he's not going to make it. I'm just not 100% sure. You and I have talked about it. I was just at Easter with my wife's family, who is all Packer fans, like a lot of discussions. And I brought up in the Easter conversation something that you had brought up and then I had noticed, and that he throws off his back foot way too fucking much. Yeah. And then this was the face everybody made. Like they were shocked at first, then thought about it, and then we're like, yeah, he fucking does. He throws off his back foot way too fucking much. But that's another place where you could learn with LaFleur and go. I don't know what the Vikings are doing. I know they like ripping, but is he really a number 2 backup quarterback? Are they just waiting to sign Carson Wentz after the Monday, when you can, after 3:30, you can sign so it doesn't hurt the compensatory picks? I could be crazy, and this could just be the homer in me. I so believe that the Vikings and Asante Samuel already have a deal worked out to sign after Monday. So we'll see if I'm crazy, and that's just wishful thinking on my part, but it doesn't make sense to me why Asante Samuels isn't signed yet. So that
did you see that Stephon Gilmore's been at the Star today as well? He's been in Arlington today talking up some deals, and Jerry Jones has said we've got some pretty sizable deals upcoming. You know that the Micah Parsons deal is probably going to get done on like the first an hour before the draft.
Jerry said something about a trade too. So
Jerry's one of my trade up kind of. We'll talk about that in the next.
Well, I didn't take that as it was in the draft. I was wondering if maybe trade for like Jalen Ramsey or some shit. But you guys, I love Stephon Gilmore, but if he wants to go back to Dallas, go ahead, because if the Vikings re-signed anybody from last year, I'd rather have them bring back Shaq Griffin than Stephon Gilmore. Only because Stephon, you can tell Gilmore's not as fast as he used to be. And if I'm bringing in and they both played good for us, I'm bringing a guy that's a little bit younger and still more athletic. That's all it boils down to, though.
Yeah, Gilmore does a lot for the Cowboys cornerback room with the way that Trayvon Diggs plays and the way that Darren Bland plays. And just the way that our defense plays in general. It is nice to have like a calm head to just sit on a slot receiver, like it's just nice.
I'm so excited about Isaiah Rodgers is Kevin O'Connell was in his interview after they signed him, and he said he was one of those guys that Brian Flores looked over at me and just gave me this look. And he said the last time Brian Flores gave me that look, he said it was Andrew Van Ginkel.
Yeah, and
He's like,
yeah,
so Flores wanted this dude, like he was like, go get me fucking
yeah.
Isaiah. So he sees something in Isaiah Rodgers that makes me very excited.
You guys have like a different criteria for picking defensive players than anyone else. Like whenever I've seen anybody trying to work out who the Vikings are going to draft, and they all go, "Oh, this cornerback is like the best cornerback for this stuff and this stuff and this stuff," and I'm like, you have no idea what Brian Flores wants at a cornerback. Like Brian Flores could prefer like Malik Stark and want to play him at fucking middle linebacker or some shit like that, you know, like he, that's how Brian Flores operates. So actually, whenever I see anybody talking about the defensive stuff for the Vikings, I'm just a bit like, you don't know. So just
I'm
there's
with
no
you.
point of us talking.
I watched
Yeah,
the team. I have no idea. So when people go, what do you want in the first round? I'm like, I just want the best available player, to be honest, because we're there. And like Kawasi said, you have to earn your right to be one of those teams. But I just say, give me a D tackle. Like, fuck, I watched Philly win a Super Bowl by just having so many D linemen that nobody ever got tired.
if I'm the Vikings, I just want whoever Brian Flores wants. Like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, Brian Flores, you pick. Like we've got this pick is reserved for defense. Brian Flores, you just pick your guy. And we go with that.
I just want to come out of the draft with a tight end because it's a deep tight end draft and we need a third one. Josh Oliver's on his last year of the deal. That's all I want. Give me good players and get me a tight end. But like I said, give me a D tackle. Whenever it is, I don't know. Every time I get asked, where do you want the second round or the third round? A D tackle. What do you want the fifth round? A D tackle. I don't know. Just give me a D tackle. They're deep this year. Let's just go sign 4 D tackles and end it.
Yeah, Jay, one of the other big stories of this NFL draft is, will there be any first round trades? It's been a decade since we've had a draft without a first round trade. The last time was in 2014. That was the last draft without a first round trade. There's only a few blue chip players, and teams are all sounding like they really want to trade down. But if everybody wants to trade down, it then becomes really difficult to trade back up. Jay, have you got any surprise trade up candidates? Any teams that you think should be buying low and doing what investors say, and how all the dirty scumbags that are in the top 1% make all of their money by buying while we're all selling, you know?
Okay. You're going to hate me. But I thought about this today.
Go for it.
So the Cowboys trade up to number 3, get Abdul Carter, and trade Micah Parsons.
That's insane. That's insane. I knew you were going to say it when you said Abdul Carter, but that is mental.
It is. I was sitting here thinking about it, though, and I'm like, how does Jerry get this cap under control? You get the guy that everybody says could be Micah Parsons or even better, and you trade Micah Parsons. I don't know. It was like, it's a lateral move at best, though, and it could be going backwards. But sometimes at some point, you're going to have to make a rough decision if you keep paying people. But another trade I see, I could see Buffalo trading their first round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for TJ Watt. There would be more to it, but this year's first year plus to go get TJ Watt.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I think for me, I think the Dallas Cowboys are a big trade up candidate. I think they're a huge
probably for
trade up candidate.
An offensive lineman, but
I would say for Mason Graham.
Okay,
if they can jump there. If they can jump the Jags, or if they could jump the Jags. So the Patriots are desperate to trade down by the sounds of it. So if they can get up to the Patriots still get their tackle at 12. That's fine. Like the Patriots will still be able to get a tackle at 12, get up and get Mason Graham. We've never had a good interior defensive line for as long as I've been watching the Dallas Cowboys. So we clearly can't draft them. So if there's one guy who's just an outright defensive tackle, the obvious best defensive tackle in the draft, just go get him. And it'll be cheaper than if you ever wanted to trade up to 4 in the history of the NFL.
Well, Pete Schrager was on Pat McAfee today, and they said, give us one thing That's for sure. Because Pete Schrager, I know you probably know he left Good Morning Football and joined ESPN, but because everything was already set up, he was only scheduled for round 2 of the draft. So he's doing round 1 on the Pat McAfee show. Okay. So they said, give me one thing that is for sure that you know about the draft that we can bank on. And he said, the Jags will take an offensive weapon with their first pick in the draft.
Well, that's good. Oh, well, maybe he just knows that because maybe he knows that the Patriots are taking Mason Graham then. Maybe he knows that Shador Sanders is falling. The Browns take Abdul Carter. The Giants take Travis Hunter.
Well, do you think the Browns take Carter? Because everybody's saying they're going to take Travis Hunter if they stick and pick.
Well, then, okay, well, then maybe, well, then the Giants take
Why
Abdul
is there
Carter.
this last minute hate on Abdul Carter too? Because I keep seeing his name sliding.
Yeah, so if Abdul Carter slides, I think the Cowboys should go and get him as well, by the way. Just with the situation that the Cowboys are in with their roster, they don't need depth. Like, we've got depth, the Dallas Cowboys. Like, we need starters to fill. Like, there are holes that have been left by starters. And you can, so all the training back stuff, that's all about building depth. That's all about getting depth. But if there's a guy that can fill a hole for you, and ours is the defensive line, defensive tackle, defensive lineman to go opposite Micah Parsons. Now a guard because Zach Martin is retired, and then that's probably the holes filled as well. If you can fill those by trading up, then go trade up. Go get Abdul Carter. Go get Mason Graham. Like, it makes loads of sense for me. Abdul Carter is. I think everybody saw the whole like he's the Michael Parsons regen. Like, he's the regeneration of Michael Parsons immediately, wears the same number, plays in the same college, went through the same route as moving from outside linebacker to defensive end. And then he's not as good as Michael Carter. He's not as good as Michael Parsons. Like, for me, he's not as good as Michael Parsons was in college. And therefore, people are a bit not so enamored with him. As well, and I think there was that injury talk as well before the draft, before he got it all cleared by a doctor. So you have all that injury talk as well. So that could explain the Abdul Carter slide. But I think the real reason for the Abdul Carter slide is everybody just throwing shit into the media to try and get Abdul Carter to fall. Like, that's what it is. Like, Abdul Carter doesn't make it past the Giants at 3, unless the Browns take Shador Sanders.
Yeah, or if somebody trades up to get Abdul Carter, because I know that the Browns and the Giants both said they're willing to trade back.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's me, if the Jags don't like Mason Graham, like I'm saying, basically I'm saying to the Cowboys, go and get Mason Graham. That's my big plea to the Dallas Cowboys as well. I think some other teams that have the potential to kind of trade up is the Steelers. I think definitely need to try and trade up if they are left without a quarterback. I think Miami is in an interesting spot in terms of needing to trade up to go get some talent because their roster's kind of falling apart by the sounds of it. Jalen Ramsey is probably going to go somewhere for like a 3rd, 4th round pick, I imagine. I've seen the Raiders linked with Jalen Ramsey a lot. But yeah, I think everybody else is trying to move down. So it's a buyer's market, Jay. That is a buyer's market when everybody else is trying to move down.
This is true. I'm not trying to jump the gun with some of your questions I know are coming up.
Yeah, Jay, we'll move on to that because we've alluded to it a lot already, but the Steelers, we've spoken about this a lot kind of already and kind of alluding to it. It looked like for all money that Aaron Rodgers was going to be their quarterback for next season.
He is.
But Aaron Rodgers is still making that decision. He says he's close to retirement. He's saying he's close to retirement a lot of the time as well. Jay, what should the Steelers be doing with Aaron Rodgers doing what he's doing? How should the Steelers be approaching this in the draft?
So after watching him on Pat McAfee this week, this is what, if you sift through all the shit Aaron Rodgers was talking about, this is literally what I heard out of Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to play football this year. I'm going to play football for the Steelers. We already have a contract for $10 million worked out. And the only reason I'm not there now is I got some real shit with people I'm close to going on in their personal lives. And that as soon as I get this, to where it needs to be, I'm going to be at the Steelers. That's what the fuck I heard. Like, maybe I'm crazy, but that's literally what I heard. But if you're the Steelers, cool. Aaron Rodgers is coming. You got him for a year, maybe 2, and I think that's pushing it at this point.
That's pushing it too.
Yeah, depending how he plays with the recovery of the heel, and like he does have some weapons. But I saw him throwing with DK Metcalf. That shit hit the media on purpose. Like, he's going to Pittsburgh. Calm down, Steelers fans. He'll be there. He'll be there before training camp. I don't know about OTAs, but he'll be there before training camp. But yes, you still draft a quarterback. You absolutely at some point still draft a quarterback.
Yeah, so for me, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be there as well, because actually as a fit, it makes way more sense than the Jets ever did. Like,
Minnesota is the only one that makes a better sense, and I'm glad they said no, thanks.
Yeah, well, I heard a few people like pointing out there, like maybe Aaron Rodgers is waiting to see if JJ McCarthy can make it at the Vikings, and then he'll swoop in for the Vikings and all of that. I don't think so.
Unless JJ gets injured, there's no way they go away from him this year. No matter how bad he plays, he's pretty much a rookie. There's no way they go away from him.
Yeah, and with Kevin O'Connell's system, you can't just walk into that. Like, that's not a system that you just. Right. That's not a system that you just walk into. So. I think the Vikings do need another quarterback. I think the Vikings should.
Well, yeah, there's only 2 on our roster. Yeah, we have obviously. I think they want a veteran. I think it's Tannehill or I think it's Wentz is what I think it is. But we'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense. But with Aaron Rodgers, I think he's going to be going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But because you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you should be drafting another quarterback. One. Aaron Rodgers is coming off a big injury, coming off like not playing very particularly well before that injury either, as well. So, like, you need an insurance policy for that. But 2, getting a rookie quarterback to spend a year, 2 years with Aaron Rodgers now, like while he gets to see like. Aaron Rodgers isn't the most ultimate pro or whatever, but he does shed light on the game now, doesn't he?
He'll mentor the shit out of this kid because he's at the end of his career and he's not worried about him taking his job. And he knows how, like, Aaron Rodgers isn't stupid and he knows the optics of shit, right? And he knows if I take care of this kid, I'm going to look good for mentoring him. So whoever comes in with Rodgers is definitely, I think, going to get a mentor. In Aaron Rodgers. So that's like, it's a good situation for a rookie quarterback if we're both right in Aaron Rodgers. Well, that's a good situation for a rookie quarterback if you have to come in and play because there's weapons too. So,
yeah, for me, if I'm the Steelers, I'm looking at maybe trading up in the second round to get whoever my guy is from that next tier down from Shedeur Sanders. But if Shedeur Sanders starts to fall, go fucking take Shedeur Sanders. Like, I think that's a great.
I think they're going to sit at 20 and get Shedeur Sanders.
Wow, that's impressive. They sit at 20.
Think about it after the top 10. Like, who the fuck needs a quarterback?
Miami becomes interesting.
Yeah, but Arizona. I think you don't do that when you're at the risk of losing your job, and the GM and the coach are on the hot seat. We can't pretend they're not.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Arizona becomes semi-interesting. Seattle with Sam Darnold becomes semi-interesting as well. But yeah, you're right. If they fall out the top 10, if he gets past the Saints. Jerry Jones is fucking crazy enough to do that. Like, I don't think I would waste the 12th overall pick on that guy, but Jerry Jones is a fucking crazy enough old man to like do that shit. So if they get past the Cowboys, then okay, you sit. But maybe I get a bit trigger happy if I'm the Steelers.
What if Jerry's big trade is that he is trading fucking Micah Parsons to the Browns for the second pick?
Why can't it be like trading Dak Prescott or something? Like I don't want them to trade Dak Prescott.
Well, because it would kill your cap. It would murder your cap to trade Dak.
Yeah. No, everything murders our cap, Jay. We've got 37 mil above the cap at the moment, but we've got to spend half of it on rookies and stuff. But yeah. So I think Aaron Rodgers will be playing, but I think they have to draft a quarterback, right? Like they have to come away from this draft with a quarterback. And if I'm Jackson Dart, I'm praying that I end up in Pittsburgh. Like I know you want to play like your first season in, but really the best for your career is winding up at Pittsburgh. That's the best spot. I think it goes, maybe the Rams is the best spot that any of these guys can go to, and then it's the Steelers, even if they do take Aaron Rodgers, especially if they take Aaron Rodgers as well. Jay, the final thing that I want to talk about today, we've kind of spoken about like moving up and trading and who you go for. I've heard a lot of talk now about like drafting for need versus drafting the best player available. It seems to be something that all the GMs kind of start to get asked questions about as we get closer and closer to the draft. I think it's all bullshit. Jay, are you a draft for need or are you a draft for the best player available?
Kawasi said something that was so brilliant this week when they were interviewing him. He said, we're in a great position where we can draft the best player available. He goes, but you're going to be realistic. Like if that's a quarterback, we're not taking a quarterback in the first round. We have JJ McCarthy. He goes, but you got to earn that. And he's like, and there is probably 10, 12 teams in the NFL. And I think he was being very generous because he didn't want to be an asshole when he said that, right? But that earn that right. And I agree with him. Like, because if you have a great D tackle and you have holes everywhere and there's a D tackle on the board, you can't just like, and if you have a left tackle, are you really going to draft a fucking left tackle if the left, like Christian Darisaul's in Minnesota? Are we going to draft a left fucking tackle? No, we're not. And I don't care if he's the best player available. So it is bullshit. But I did like when they said that. And what I took that more as in, you earn your right for luxury picks. Like if the Vikings decided, and I hope they don't, this wide receiver is so great, we're just going to take him. Okay, they did it, but I hope they don't do that. But you earn the right for luxury picks. You know what I mean? And
like the Eagles for another defensive end, like they'll just draft another defensive end. Like we all know that that's what they're going to do.
That's why I always say draft a D tackle. Just draft somebody from the D line. Because I watched the Eagles just do it, and it fucking worked. Yeah. So Minnesota, just draft D linemen.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just trying to think there are teams that have that luxury. I'd say the Vikings have no holes above the corner.
And cut you off, but I do have to say the Eagles have a horseshoe up their ass too, because they're like, we're just going to sit here and not do anything, and the best corner in the draft is going to fall to us at 22.
32.
20 on Mitchell. Yeah, right? Like,
we're
just going to sit here in the second round and, wait, we're going to walk away with Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, what's quite interesting about the Eagles is they tend to be able to pick the best. Like, that's the key. I think that's the key, isn't it? It's making sure your pick, the best player available, is the need that you have, right? So if you have a need, I'd say running back or safety, it's about trading back to the spot where you draft a running back or a safety. Like that's the game, isn't it?
Right.
Because that
the value.
It's finding where the value is and making sure your draft pick is in the value. So, for example, the New England Patriots used to do that all the fucking time. Like they used to find ways to draft back because they had their spots where they needed guys, and then they would trade back for the value. Until they stopped doing that, and they for some reason went Cole Strange in the first round, and everybody was pissing themselves laughing. And Cole Strange isn't terrible, but they've just clearly drafted for need there. Like they're just so obviously drafted for need, and he wasn't also the best player at that need either. But
literally the day before, though, I said somebody the Vikings could draft in the third round is Cole Strange, and then the next day we're watching the draft. It's like, what just happened?
And now look at where the Patriots' offensive line is, right? So it's about getting your draft pick to the spot where your need is the best value, as well. That's the ideal situation that you can get. But I agree with you. I think you definitely have to pick for need and pick the best player, pick one of the best players available as well. On what Kawasi said, I'm trying to think now of teams that just that have zero holes to fill, right? And
it's not that you have zero; it's you feel strong enough that you can overcome what those are, right? So I think the Vikings are sitting in a good position with that. I think the Eagles are sitting in a great position with that.
The Eagles, the Vikings, okay, corner, but I think you have enough to cover at corner. I think
so. That's it. They love Blackman. He just got injured, right? They love Isaiah Rodgers. So we see it as a need, but I don't think they do.
Yeah, like you guys are going to take Malachi Starks.
I think safety is more of a need than
that's
corner.
He also weirdly he's also going to be the best player available, and safeties in the first round are a bit of a luxury pick. But not one that Malachi Stark. I love that guy,
and I really think Kawasi is one of the fuck these picks type of guy in a different way. So like they went fuck these picks in LA, but they went and traded for established vets. I think Kwesi's like fuck these picks. I am going to go get young, cheap talent in the draft who's really good. Wouldn't shock me if this motherfucker traded away some picks next year to move up in the first round this year. Because we've noticed that like he does not give a fuck about trading picks, right? And but they did such a good job in free agency. It's like if they see a guy and they're like, this guy's going to make us that much better, then you go get him. And wildly, if you get one of these top 2 tight ends in that Minnesota offense, it's like you can go 12 personnel and then spread everybody out wide with 3 tight ends who can catch the fucking ball. That's kind of wild too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you guys can really run some freaky shit. I think that maybe the Bills are the only other team that can really pick just pure luxury, like the whole time as they're going through. Well, the Chiefs I'd say the Chiefs need to get younger on their offense, and I still think their offense line needs some help. Like, have you seen the amount of stuff linking Scatterboo to the Chiefs in like the 3rd round? And if you think of how much of a cult following Scatterboo already has, whenever the Chiefs draft a running back, that guy is like immediately the most talked about. Like Isaiah Pacheco, like when the Chiefs drafted Isaiah Pacheco in like the 7th round, he immediately became one of the most spoken about people like in the thing. Like imagine Scatterboo at 3rd. I was listening to like Steve Motson and the old PFF, the Check the Mic podcast.
I watch them once in a while. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was listening to them talking about it, and it was just like he's going to get like a statue outside before he's even played it down. Like if Scatterboo goes, he'll be like the most cult hero running back immediately.
Munson is such the Vikings hater, it's ridiculous, and the other dude's always like, I like their team, and he's like, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, it so explains the back and forth me and him had on Twitter about TJ Hawkinson, right? So,
you properly beefed with him one time, which is
it was fun. It was fun, and he was fun about it. So that's why it was great. Nobody got in their feelings. Nobody got disrespectful. You know what I mean? It was a lot of fun, and other people jumped in and they stayed respectful too, wildly. So yeah, it was a good time. Him and I got into it with the Simons from Florio's when Chris Sims isn't there. But we've had fun back and forth, and I made fun of his sweater vest, and he sent me a meme of Malfoy's dad being like, "How dare you?" So, like, yeah, that was.
If you want to see what Jay tries to beef anybody about, then do always feel free to follow us on Twitter.
I do most of it on Instagram now, so follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's funner to beef
follow us on Instagram. Yeah, follow us on Instagram, follow us on all of our social medias. Also, guys, get in the comments and let us know who your favorite QB sleeper is, who you think will be trading up in this draft as well, and whether you would draft need or whether you just always draft best player available, and whether you think all GMs are just chatting bullshit whenever they say best player available. Do get in the comments and let us know all about it. Jay, you're going to be actually at the draft on Thursday. What have you got for us on that Thursday?
I'm going to wing it. I'm going to get you some content. That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get reactions from fans. I don't know how close I'm going to get to the stage or not. Like, I don't know. Like, this setup is wild. It's like I put some pictures on Yankee and the Brit, and it doesn't even do. That's just the stage, like that they're building. It doesn't do the whole area justice. You'll see it though, because I'll definitely get a walk around, getting fans' reactions, and I'm sure I'll be getting some reactions because I'll be Vikinged out, you know. For any of the old heads, though, kicking it off tomorrow for Wisconsin or for Green Bay's kickoff of it, they're doing a festival downtown, and De La Soul is headlining, which I grew up on. 90s hip hop group, Maddie. 80s hip hop group,
Thank
probably.
you.
80s.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm going to go down there for that. I was very disappointed when I found out who the headliner for the NFL concert is. So I will not be going to that because it's Brad fucking Paisley. Brad Paisley hasn't had a hit in like 20 fucking years. What are we doing? And I don't even like country, but if you're going to do country and you're the NFL, you couldn't have got us Lainey Wilson or Jelly Roll or something like that. I don't know. Brad fucking Paisley.
It's interesting to do country when you're the NFL, when you're doing it, the draft in Wisconsin, right? Like, so there's loads of opportunities to do country when you're doing the draft in the South.
Well,
right? Like,
we have a lot of like farmers too, so I get the country vibe.
Yeah,
People love country in Wisconsin. So like if you were going to do country, I'm not that mad at it. But and I would say everybody in Wisconsin is very musically diverse. They listen to everything. It's not like when you get down south or to the East Coast where like I just listen to East Coast hip hop. You know, like it's weird shit. It's not weird shit like that. But if you're going to get country, man, there's country stars out there like you couldn't have got us Jelly Roll. Like the NFL, you got enough money to get us Jelly Roll. Like he's the biggest country singer in the world right now. Can you like go get that motherfucker?
Even like someone like fucking Debussy, right?
Yeah.
You know, like someone like that.
And if you're gonna go way back, why don't you get us like Tim McGraw? At least he had some songs that everybody knew. Like fucking Brad Paisley. Sorry, Brad, you're probably a great guy.
If you could get like any fucking reaction with Brad Paisley, now that would be.
I'm not even going down there for the concert though. I'm leaving before the. I'm already going to be out there 3 days and it ends the concert or the thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to be so exhausted. I really hope that some of those electric scooters that you can rent are still out there, so I can just take it home, so I don't have to walk home.
Yeah. So guys, we actually have man on the ground, man at the draft ready to go, so make sure you follow us for some of that. Subscribe, hit the bell. I'll be doing some like solo stuff like just before the draft kicks off. I'll have a solo show before the draft kicks off because obviously Jay is going to be busy on the ground as well.
I'm going to try to FaceTime Maddie from the draft and see if I can stream that live for a little bit. I'm going to see if I can get that in.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't know how much internet connections we're gonna have.
Like, like after the Cowboys pick or something like that, and after like, if there's a big trade up or something, we'll see what we can kind of. We'll see what we can kind of.
I am gonna try to get close to Pat McAfee's stage though for the draft one. So Brett Favre's supposed to be there signing autographs, and I'm not gonna do it, but I really wanted to like. Bring a sign with all my Vikings gear and then hold the sign up that said like let's normalize welfare fraud and like hold it up. But
you could like try and get him to sign some like fraudulent papers or something like that, some like welfare fraud.
I should have my wife, because she got better handwriting, make a big up sign for the Pat McAfee show, and she should just stand there and hold it, and it says Yankee and the Brit/YouTube.com.
Just put a big QR code on it or something so that everybody can like scan it with their TV.
Right. Yeah, see, I'm old. I don't think of the QR codes, but yeah.
Like the QR codes. Like there you go. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Jay, send us off like you always do.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in tomorrow night for MMA Underground. They'll be killing it. Great guests. Go back earlier today. Montana and David were talking about the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are kicking off. And yes, they are two Lakers homers, but that's kind of good for this draft this year because Lakers looking all right. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.